On today's episode of Locked on NHL, we've got a coach re-signing, we've got more salary cap gymnastics, and we have a broken defenseman. We're going to talk about all of that on today's edition of Locked on NHL.
You're Locked on NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, you are listening to or watching another edition of Locked on NHL. It is Western Conference Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in and for making this your first listen of the day. My name's Sarah, host of Locked on Kings, one half of Locked on NHL Wednesday edition, joined as always by Jess, host of Locked on Flames, the other half of Locked on NHL Western Conference Wednesday edition. And today we get to talk about one of our favorite things, which is dunking on Vegas.
Yes.
Because Mark Stone may or may not be coming back tonight. Math, how does it work? We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the reports that the Anaheim Ducks are re-signing Dallas Eakins, much to the annoyance of much of the Ducks fan base. And we will talk about the Kings announcement that Drew Doughty is out for the season, also much to the chagrin of much of the Kings fan base. So let's actually just start with dunking on Vegas time. Let's get the fun one out of the way, right?
Let's do it.
Yeah. So Mark Stone, the rumor is that he could come back tonight as we're recording this. So Tuesday night, he's going to be a game time decision for the Vegas Golden Knights. They're playing Vancouver. Vegas needs help. They need all the help they can get at this point, which may be why they're like, hey, Mark Stone, you ready?
Right.
You ready to come back? Because if you look at the standings, currently Vegas is just outside the playoff picture. They are just outside of that last wild card spot in the West. Yeah, right? Oh, darn. But he could be coming back, which means more salary cap gymnastics because of course it does.
So I was just reading an article from SB Nation's Nights on Ice, and it's not like they need to move like a couple $100,000, right? They could move that to my bank account if they wanted. That's perfectly fine. But they only have like $5 million in available cap space, and with Stone's cap hit, it's $9.5 million. So I don't know what this means. I don't know if they thought the trade deadline was going to be, a little bit more successful for them, so they would be able to avoid this problem. And part of me hopes that GMs were really petty and said, no, we helped you enough during the expansion draft. We don't want to help you anymore.
Yeah.
But that's just me. That's why I will never be a general manager and probably an awful business person because I do things out of spite. But how on earth could they make this work?
Yeah, like if I'm reading Cap Friendly right, which is always a chance I'm not, if I'm reading it right, at this current moment, they have about $5 million in cap space, which includes all the banked long-term injured reserve, whatever, all of that nonsense. Mark Stone's cap hit is $9.5 million. I know there's always like weird gymnastics with like things get prorated or whatever, but they don't have like even if you're prorating things, they don't have the space for him. Right now on long-term injured reserve, they have Riley Smith, Brett Howden, Nick Hague, and Jake Bischoff all on long-term injured reserve. They're running out of players who are hurt who they can put out there. They've got Laurent Brossoit, the backup goalie, who at the end of March was said he's not even close to returning. His cap hit is like 2.4, essentially $2.325 million. So that's $2 million. William Carrier is also not close to returning. His cap hit is not a whole ton, I don't think. So like I don't know. They have to trade like trade. Like, I don't understand. Like, yeah, I don't understand what they're going to do. Even if they like start reassigning guys to the minors, they have a couple guys who are up right now on emergency loans. Like, that's a couple $1,000,000 once you add them all up. Like, I I I don't. I mean, I don't feel bad for them because it's
No.
Vegas. I don't feel bad for them, but like, I do feel bad for like the poor like spreadsheet person who has to figure this out. Like, I don't envy them, but
No.
it's also a problem of their own making. So I feel like zero sympathy towards it.
Right. Like they thought that they were going to be able to, beat the system and whatnot, but it came back to bite them in the butt. And I figured that the playoffs started very soon.
Mhm.
Again, no concept of time, no sort of anything. They don't start until like May, the
Yeah.
1st of May or
Yeah.
whatever, like that first week. So it's not like Mark Stone can like milk this
Right.
for that much longer.
Right. Right. Because he's traveling with the team. The fact
Right.
that they're calling it a game time decision means that he's
He's
basically ready to come
Yeah.
back. Um, and for Vegas as a team who is, as we said, struggling, they're not in a playoff position at this point. Like, they want Mark Stone back. Like, he is the heart and soul of that team. He is a fantastic hockey player, as frustrating as he is to play against. And they need him. They have been hurting without him. He's missed basically most of the season with this back
Yeah.
injury. They want him. They need him back. But yeah, this they have, this is the like you messed around and now you found out. Like,
Right. These are
I
the
don't know.
consequences of your own actions here. And I don't know where they thought they would just magically get the rest of his cap
Mhm.
hit from, especially because it is a good chunk of money.
Yeah. Like, trade Dadanov again?
Right, like, do you wanna try that again?
Right.
Like,
It
I
didn't.
know he wouldn't be able to play
Yeah.
if it's to a playoff team, or I don't even think he'd be able to play the
Yeah.
rest
I
of the
think he
season.
Yeah, I think he'd just have to sit. Which, I mean, let's be real, I'd love to get paid to, like, not do my job. That'd be really cool, but that I'm
100%.
not a professional athlete. Like, that's why they're, competitive, and I sit at
Right,
a desk.
exactly. Like, there's just no way I see this working out, and,
Yeah.
I mean, it's hockey. I'm sure that there are a lot of, loopholes that will come to light, but I don't understand or feel bad how they think that this is gonna work out in potentially 6 hours from now, if
Yeah.
they're 8 hours if they're in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know.
I
Good
don't
luck.
know. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about more in a second. I'm going to go check on the noise my dog just made, and Jess is going to tell you about some cool stuff you can get involved in.
Yes. So, HelloFresh is a fantastic meal delivery service that you need because it will save you from trips to the grocery store or opening up your pantry and realizing you have all these mismatched ingredients that just don't go together and you need to make a meal. But it's all about convenience with HelloFresh. Not only are the ingredients pre-portioned, so you're not overbuying or wasting food, but it's easier than ever to get filling meals on the table in a snap with options like family friendly or quick and easy recipes. My favorite part of the week is going online and customizing and picking out my meals. I think that they have over 50 different weekly options, and you can skip weeks when you don't need to. You can change the delivery date hassle free, and they even have an app. So head on over to hellofresh.com/locked on NHL and use code locked on 16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That is hellofresh.com/locked on 16 and use code LOCKEDON16 for 16 free meals and free gifts.
If anyone's curious what the noise the dog made was, it was knocking over basically everything on a table because I think she wanted her own HelloFresh meals.
Oh,
Um, and so, good on her for getting what she wants. That's just great. We'll turn to some more Pacific Division nonsense, which is what's going on with the Anaheim Ducks, because Dallas Eakins he had a 3-year contract with the team. There was an option for a 4th year, which would be this coming season. Everyone has basically looked at this team and has said there is no way that this team is giving him that 4th year option. He is done. We are going to find a real coach. And instead, the reports are that the team is going to give him that 4th year. He is in his 3 seasons with the Ducks. He is 75, 96, and 30. It is debatable, how much fault lies on him versus the lineup versus whatever. But the Ducks did get off to a strong start this season before kind of running out of gas and nosediving. He did, help guide them they were in a playoff position. They were like top in the West at one point. And they've sort of free fallen. And then now they've traded away like all of their relevant players. So they're even worse. But to say that Ducks fans are like up in arms about this, like this is like the angriest I've seen people about rehiring or retaining a coach in like ages. They want this guy gone.
And I don't think I blame them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we've talked about it on the show before, but the usual lifespan of a coach within an organization is like 3-ish seasons, and that's when it's good or it's sour. And it wouldn't surprise me if Eakins unfortunately does lose his job in the middle of next season if things go horribly, and Ducks fans are just gonna say, "We told you so."
Yeah.
And you have to feel for the fans because it hasn't been a pleasant time, but there's got to be a way for them to kind of succeed a little bit through this challenging time of this rebuild.
Yeah, and like their new GM Pat Verbeek has been like, I think everyone has given him pretty high marks so far in his short tenure. Like he's been pretty open about the fact of we need to rebuild, we need to like we can't just slap a bandage on this. We can't just sign one guy and suddenly we're going to be good. Like he gets it and has kind of prepared the fan base for the fact that like, yeah, things are going to be even more painful than they were. And so like in some respects, it sort of makes sense to keep Dallas Eakins if you don't think the Ducks are going to be any better next year than they are this year. Because it's like for the Kings, several years ago, they fired John Stevens at the beginning of the season because reasons. And then they hired Willie Desjardins, who presided over one of the worst Kings teams I have ever seen. And everyone knew he was just a placeholder. Like everyone knew the team was bad. They weren't going to go anywhere. They were like, they didn't want to bring on, they wanted to see who was going to become available. And eventually they hired Todd McClellan in the offseason. But it made sense, even though everyone hated it, even though it was like the worst season of hockey I've seen. Like it made sense to just, you knew you were punting on the year. You knew that you were playing for a draft pick and not like a playoff spot. So if that's where the Ducks are next season, like it sucks. You're going to have to watch a bad team. Like he's not a great coach. He makes weird decisions. He keeps playing like grinders with Trevor Zegras. Like I don't know what like right. Like what are you going to do? But if you think you're going to be bad and you're gunning for that top draft pick, why not keep a bad coach?
Right. And it's a way of tanking with maybe a little bit of integrity.
Right. It's a little more like dignity than just, the Coyotes Sabres route of trade off literally every player who could do anything. You have some continuity. He like, and I think the thing that's been frustrating most for Ducks fans is he was fantastic in the AHL as a coach. Like the Gulls were like a juggernaut under him, and that
Mhm.
success just isn't translating for him at the NHL level. But like, yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, you're gonna be bad. You're not gonna go out and like spend all your money on, you know, whoever the next fired coach is.
Right, and, like, that's the thing, I'm racking my brain right now, like, thinking what management could do.
Mhm.
There's probably nothing at the moment. There's probably a deadline where they have to say, "We will be extending this, this qualifying offer or whatever, and, to our coach," or, they don't know who's gonna become available
Mhm.
on like, at the end of the season here
Right.
in a couple weeks. So they have to make a decision in what they feel is best, and, I don't think it's Daryl Sutter isn't gonna come in there and, get them all magic and turn them into, bad news bears or whatever, but I am just very
It's just a
just play for the
bad
draft.
situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just play for the
Yeah.
draft. It's fine.
I mean, like, speaking of Daryl Sutter, like, he was with the Ducks as, like, a advisor, and I feel like they've gotta be kicking themselves a little bit
Yeah,
for letting him go and go back to Calgary for that opportunity. I feel like a lot of people were definitely, like, when Sutter took that role, I think a lot of people were sort of expecting him to be, just waiting in the wings for the day they fired Dallas Eakins, and then ta-da, like, Daryl Sutter, Anaheim Ducks
yeah,
coach, which, like, as a Kings person, feels real dirty to me. Like,
right? Like, I feel
Calgary,
like
I'm
it
okay with, but, like, no, it's bad enough that, like, the Kings, their former AHL head coach is now an assistant coach with the Ducks, and, like, that's weird enough as it is, like, I hate that. Um, yeah, it's just a bad situation, and it's one of those, like, no matter what you do as, like, the GM or the ownership, like, your team's just gonna be bad next year, like,
right.
just you have to just roll with it.
And I think that, obviously it's important for for fans to express those opinions and their emotions, but at the end of the day, they're not the ones running the
Yeah,
hockey team and they're not the ones making decisions, but I don't see a world where that rebuild is fixed over the span of,
right.
a 3-month off season.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, like, having that continuity of the placeholder coach who everyone knows, you like him or not, everyone in the organization knows him, the players know what is expected from them. He might not
Yep,
be a great coach, but it's better than, like, totally upsetting the apple cart, basically, by bringing in someone new who's gonna want a whole new system, and then you're like, "Oh, the team's actually good, and it turns out this coach isn't the right fit," and then you have to start all over again.
right.
Like,
There's
this thi yeah,
no point in going back to
no,
square one
no.
multiple times.
No. This is going to upset the, Dallas Eakins countdown that I know Locked on Ducks has been doing. Basically, after every game, it has been, there are X number of games left in the Dallas Eakins era. So hashtag regrets. Like, sorry about that. You can probably hear much more opinions about Dallas Eakins if you tune into Locked on Ducks, because I know that has been a frequent topic over there. We're going to talk about my broken defenseman coming up after this. But before we do that, I feel like I need a Built Bar to power through what the Kings are going to have to deal with now. And you can't go wrong. Built Bars are delicious. They are full of protein. They're going to give you energy. And the best thing is, to me, they're covered in 100% chocolate. And really, anything covered in chocolate is a plus. So if you are looking for something healthy to get you through the day, to give you energy to like deal with watching your team lose again or whatever, you can go and check out Built Bar. They come in a ton of tasty flavors, including the Built Puff, which is a protein-infused marshmallow. They are low in calories, low sugar, low carbs, high fiber, and high deliciousness. So go to built.com and see all the different varieties of snack that they have available. They have new flavors that are getting introduced all the time, so you might want to make sure you never miss out. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. That is promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. And we're going to end the show with looking at my poor, injury-riddled, eternally broken Kings blue line. Because if you haven't kept up with the Kings, which I can't say I blame you for not doing that, they are in a playoff position. It's fun. It's exciting. It's scary. Very, very anxiety-inducing. And lately they have been doing it with a blue line that is mostly comprised of rookies. They have like slowly players are coming back in. Alex Edler is the like designated adult, and he's back, but he, is older and was just injured. He broke his leg basically. So that takes a while to come back from. Oli Mata exists. Matt Roy is slowly coming back from being injured. So like the blue line is getting a little healthier. But the thing that makes the blue line go, love him or hate him, is Drew Doughty. And I know someone on your team who hates him.
Yeah,
I can't say that I've missed not having that drama this year with Doughty being out.
Yeah.
Like, I can only have like one player with a Kachuk beef, and that's been Brendan Lemieux this year. But the team announced on Monday, so Doughty hasn't played since early March. He was hurt in a game against the Bruins. And the team was like unusually cagey about him and his status. And they announced that he is officially out for the rest of the season. Presumably that includes playoffs as well. If and when they make the playoffs, he had to have some sort of wrist surgery. So that's bad. And is, beginning rehab and will be ready for next season. But like the hits just keep on coming, man.
Yeah. And when I saw it, my first thought was, oh no, the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that the Kings are also kind of in that position as Anaheim of we have a mix of guys that have been here for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have children who weren't even born when those guys were drafted.
God, that's so sad.
It really is.
It's so sad.
When I see like birth years of like 2002, 2003, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
No. But where does this leave your expectations?
I think for me, in some ways, it doesn't change anything because the team has been surviving without him for a month. He also missed a bunch of time at the beginning of the season with a leg injury. What it means is that, like, there is no Drew Doughty coming because I feel a lot of people are watching the team and being like, yeah, this is really rough to watch right now, but Doughty's going to be back and then things will be better. We don't have that ship to play anymore. So, right. Even like if players on the team themselves were even thinking like, oh, I just got to hang on until Drew's back. Like, sorry, but no. So, I think it gives the team clarity of what their blue line's going to have to look like for the rest of the season and who's going to have to step up. A lot of the problems that they've had, I think, have been because players are having to they're playing up in the lineup when they shouldn't be. Guys are getting way more minutes than like they necessarily should be playing. Like Sean Dursey, who's a child, I feel like played like 28 minutes the other day, which is great, but I don't think he's ready for that. But he has to be because there's no one else. Right. So it's like frustrating, especially because Doughty was one of the loudest guys this offseason about, to Rob Blake and the Kings leadership of like, listen, we're ready to like take the next step. We want you to invest in us. We want you to bring in players. And they did. Like they signed Phil Deneau. They traded for Victor Arvidsson. And, if he's going to be out, if he's going to miss whatever playoff run they get to go on, it kind of stinks for him of, he was the biggest agitator for this. And now he just has to sit on the sidelines and watch and get irritated probably.
There are very few times where I feel sympathy for a man making $11 million a year. But this might be one of those times where he's like a crumb.
Yeah. Right. Like it's not the tiniest violin, but it's like
it's
slightly bigger. Yeah.
I think that it's great to see the Kings in this playoff position. I think that, you don't have to go into this with this giant expectation.
Mhm.
I think it's to even be in a playoff spot and uh,
Yeah. It's a
just
shock, like, for
right.
most people. Yeah, like,
And
I
it's
talked with,
exciting.
Jay from Locked On Blue Jackets, also covers the Kings AHL team, so he jumps on the show a lot to just talk about the terrible children on the team, and, he kinda made the point of, like, this team is basically, like, to use the betting metaphor, like, playing with house money, of no
Mhm.
one expected them to be here in this position. um, if they miss out on the playoffs by 1 point or if they get in, it's still better than anyone expected, and it's still, the especially the young players are getting to experience a culture of winning instead of the past couple years of just, being satisfied that you got to overtime but you didn't win. Like, now they expect to win games. But yeah, it's frustrating that, like, because one of the Kings' biggest problems is they don't have another Drew Doughty. They have like one elite defenseman and then they have some guys. And
Right.
it's going to be defense by committee, and they're all tired. They're all so tired, which has been, part of the problem lately. Is you can tell these guys who, no one has played 82 games of hockey in the past like 2+ years.
Right. And
You
then you
know,
want us to jump right into the playoffs?
yeah, they're all like everyone's just hitting a wall, I think. But yeah, it
Players, they are just like us,
right, like they need naps too.
right? Uh, I don't know. I think this is good for, like you said, the locker room and the culture
Mhm.
because, you know, from going from a team that had, all of that success when these
Mhm.
children, I
Mhm.
don't know if they remember it, but in their early years, the Kings were fantastic. They brought home all those Stanley Cups and then to miss the playoffs for a few years
Mhm.
and then to come back and just be able to say like, "Hey guys, like we can win.
Yeah.
We like this is big." And when you're beating those competitive playoff
Mhm.
teams or taking them to overtime and then to a shootout,
Mhm.
that's huge. That is a
Yeah.
testament to how far the Kings have come.
Yeah. Which, like, yeah, I can't complain. I just am like, please no one else get hurt. We're out of people. We're out. There's no one left to
Put them
come in.
all in bubble wrap.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I think that is the plan. I'm gonna get on a plane and go. Actually, they're here tonight, so I'll just go and like sneak in
Right.
at the United Center and wrap them all up with bubble wrap. But
Sounds like a good plan.
yeah, but it's a bummer, but we'll see how it goes. And hey, whatever happens, happens.
Listen, I don't know. There have been a few times where I'm like, when the Flames are losing 3 in a row,
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh,
Right?
well, there goes that top
There it
spot.
goes. We're done.
It's not to Vegas like everyone thought."
Gross.
Right? So
Anything can happen. It's sports.
exactly. That's kind of the fun part of it too, because you're just your
Yeah.
happiness and your mood kind of just
Yeah. It's
depends
just
on how men on knives play.
right. It's crazy. It's
It
crazy.
is.
This is what we do. Put our hopes
We
and
get to
dreams
talk
on
about it
like
5
some
days,
22-year-olds.
right?
Well, we will be back next week with more looks at the Western Conference as probably more teams lock in playoff spots and we get a little closer to knowing what the postseason is going to look like. Until next time, Jess, where can folks find you online?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter and pretty much every other social media platform as Jess Belmosto. You can find the podcast wherever you get this one, Locked on Flames.
Awesome. And I'm on Twitter at right said Sarah, Locked on Kings, as the dog makes herself known. Locked on Kings is available wherever you get your podcasts, much like this show. Your favorite podcast app of choice, make sure you're subscribed to Locked on NHL. If you haven't already, you can find us on YouTube, so you can subscribe there, get notifications for new episodes, and join in the fun as we get ready for the playoffs. So, thank you for listening. There is, of course, great content all week long here on Locked on NHL from our other great slate of hosts. We will be back next Wednesday to talk more about the Western Conference. That is it for today and this edition of Locked On NHL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.